The latest jobs report says the U.S. economy added jobs, unemployment went down, and yet more people say they're struggling to find work, wages feel stuck, and layoffs keep trending on X every week. Both of those things cannot be true at the same time. So what's going on? In this episode of the Comment Section with Thomas Paul, we're going to break down why the headline jobs report can look spectacular, while the real labor market quietly rots underneath. By the end, you'll know exactly which numbers to ignore, which ones to watch, and how this impacts your job, your vote, and your portfolio. Here's where things get interesting. When I was about 12, my parents lost most of their savings because they trusted a professional who said, "You're safe. The numbers look great." A few months later, the numbers didn't look so great. The dinner table got very quiet, and I learned something. Official confidence and real safety are two completely different things. The jobs report is having that same vibe right now. Recently, the official report said the U.S. added around 100,000+ jobs in a month, and unemployment ticked down from about 4.4 to 4.3%. On paper, that means booming labor market, everything is fine, please clap. But as soon as you look under the hood, things start falling apart. But it's even getting worse. Here's the setup. We actually have two big ways of counting jobs in the U.S. One survey calls up households and asks, "Are you working?" That gives you the unemployment rate. The other survey calls businesses and asks, "How many people are on your payroll?" That gives you the headline jobs number. Those two surveys sometimes tell very different stories. You can have payroll jobs going up while household employment goes sideways or even down. It sounds nerdy, but here's the twist. That split is often a warning sign that the labor market is weaker than the headline suggests. And here's where things take a step further. On top of that, a lot of the new jobs are concentrated in a few areas: government, healthcare, and low-wage service work. At the same time, sectors like finance or higher-paying white-collar roles have been quietly shrinking. So yes, you can add net jobs overall, while higher-paid knowledge workers get laid off and replaced with lower-paid roles. If you're a retail investor, that matters. One set of jobs boosts consumer spending and earnings. The other just barely covers rent. But then the unbelievable thing happened. Another issue is revisions. The first jobs number you see on the news is basically an educated guess. Over the next few months, statisticians revise those numbers, and lately those revisions have been mostly negative. That means the first headline is strong, and then quietly, 3 months later, it's like, "Oh, by the way, we overestimated by tens of thousands of jobs. Our bad." I used to work at a local newspaper in college. I watched the same economic story get 3 different headlines depending on what mood the editor was in that day. That's when I realized news is not just information, it's framing. The jobs report is the same trick, but with spreadsheets. Here's where things get interesting. Politicians on both sides love that first flashy number. "Look, we added jobs. Unemployment is down. Mission accomplished." They do not run a victory lap when the data gets revised down later. So if you only follow the first release, you are basically volunteering to be part of the marketing campaign. Meanwhile, people are burned out, job openings are more selective, and AI is slowly creeping into everything from call centers to coding. If it feels like your job security doesn't match the happy headline, you are not crazy. The stats are just lagging your reality. But it's even getting worse. Let's talk incentives. Why would the official picture lean optimistic? Because everything from election narratives to Federal Reserve decisions to corporate PR loves a stable, growing labor market. Strong jobs give cover to keep interest rates higher for longer. Strong jobs let leaders say, "See, our plan is working." Strong jobs let companies talk about expanding headcount while mostly adding part-time, lower-wage roles. When I was in my 30s, I invested in something boring while everyone chased hype. It paid off slowly, not dramatically. That's when I stopped trusting once-in-a-lifetime stories. The current job market cheerleading has that same once-in-a-lifetime energy. Whenever the message is, "Don't worry, everything is great," I start checking the footnotes. And here's where things take a step further. So what does this mean for you practically? If you're a worker, don't plan your life around the headline jobs number. Look at your own industry. Are layoffs still happening? Are job postings asking for more skills for the same pay? Are hours getting cut? That's your real economy. If you're a voter, ask who actually benefits from this version of full employment. Are we adding stable, middle-class jobs, or are we just stacking more gig work and temp contracts? Because both sides will point at the same report and say, "We did that." The details say otherwise. But then he said this unbelievable thing. For investors, you want to track the less sexy indicators. Things like number of people working part-time for economic reasons, which spikes when people can't find full-time work. Labor force participation. How many people are even trying to work? And industry-level data. Are higher-paid sectors hiring, or is all the growth happening in lower-wage areas? Here's where things get interesting. If the headline says 130,000 jobs added, but full-time jobs are flat or down, and more people are juggling 2 part-time gigs, that's not a strong labor market. That's survival mode dressed up in a suit. And remember, AI is a slow-moving wrecking ball here. It doesn't show up in the stats until after roles quietly disappear, hiring freezes drag on, and do more with less becomes the new normal. By the time the jobs data screams problem, a lot of people will have already felt it for months, but it's even getting worse. Now, a quick break for something actually useful instead of just depressing. This video was created with Fludge.io, the same system that powers this entire channel. If you're watching and thinking, "I'd love to run a YouTube channel like this, but I don't want to be on camera," that's literally what it's built for. Fludge researches, writes the script, designs the thumbnail, uses an AI avatar, and uploads to YouTube automatically. You stay in control, you review, you hit publish. You can step in anywhere in the process, give feedback, and over time it gets better as it learns your style. This works in almost any niche: finance, news, education, commentary, and more. If you want to start a channel without burning out or turning into a full-time editor, check out Fludge.io. And here's where things take a step further. All right, back to what to watch next. For the next few months, I'd keep an eye on 3 things. First, the revisions to the jobs numbers. If we keep seeing strong first numbers and then consistent downward revisions, that's a big red flag. That's like getting straight A's. And then your teacher quietly changing them to C's after report cards go out. Second, watch unemployment plus underemployment. Not just, do you have a job? But, are you working as much as you want at the pay you expected? When that broader number starts climbing, recession risk goes way up. But then the unbelievable thing happened third. Listen to earnings calls, not just government reports. Companies will tell investors when they're freezing hiring, cutting staff, or automating roles, often months before it shows up in the official data. The phrase strategic realignment usually means people are getting laid off so the stock looks better. I got hit by that in my 40s. The press release sounded smart. The reality was a cardboard box and a security escort. Here's where things get interesting. So no, the jobs report is not pure fiction. It's just one slice of the story, with a heavy layer of spin built on data that gets revised after the headline moment has already passed. Your job is not to panic. Your job is to be skeptical. If the numbers say everything is booming, but your experience says, "This feels tight," trust your experience first, and then go find the data that explains why. None of this is financial advice, by the way. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm just the guy on the internet who hates bad framing and reads the footnotes so you don't have to. Do your own research before making investing or career decisions. If this helped you see the jobs report differently, hit subscribe so you don't have to rely on the headline spin next time. Drop a comment below. Do you think the labor market feels stronger, weaker, or just weird? I read as many as I can, and your stories beat any official statistic. You've been watching the comment section with Thomas Paul. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one.